Greetings, students. We are starting Chapter 5, Socialization, Keywords, and Concepts this week. So our videos are going to look a little bit different just because we have a lot of theories in this chapter that we need to go through. So I don't have like the numbered 5.1, 5.2. I just have the stuff that we need to go over. So the first one we're going to be going over is George Herbert Mead's Stages of Personal Development. I always find this stuff fascinating, like how people grow into people. Basically, this is what we're trying to figure out, how people become people, which is fascinating. You do not need to know all of the intricacies of this very long personal development information that was in your textbook, but it is very important that you know these 4 stages and that you know the order in which they occur. Just pro tip for your exam. All right, so let's start here. We're talking about the first step, which is the preparatory stage. This is literal infants and babies. We're talking about pure imitation. So what do I mean by this? So little child, little tiny toddler child sees adults playing on the telephone. He has a telephone, a play telephone that he can play with. He is imitating the adults on the telephone. That is all he is doing. He doesn't know that he's making a phone call. He doesn't know that he's trying to contact somebody. He knows he's playing like the adults are with the telephone. So that's imitation. We then move into the play stage, where they start acting out the roles they see. This is an important difference. So instead of just imitating mommy on the phone, maybe we're going to start to play mommy, or we're going to start to play cashier, or we're going to start to play restaurant, or something like that. Do we know what is involved with these roles? Of course not. They're still children. We're still talking 3 or 4 years old. They still don't quite understand how all of these things interact, but they understand that there are separate roles within society that each of us must fulfill, and that those have their own unique qualifications. Again, they don't quite know how they interact yet, but they're starting to. We then move into game stage. This is usually like early elementary school, somewhere in there. Varies for each child. This is the point where they're actually starting to understand how all of those roles work. So let's assume we have a 9 or a 10-year-old in a restaurant. So by the time that kid's 9 or 10, they're going to start to understand that just because they only see the waitstaff doesn't mean that only waitstaff exists in the restaurant, right? They're starting to understand that in places that they can't see, there are people cooking food, and there are people washing dishes, and there are people answering the phone. They're understanding that there are lots of different components involved in all of our social activities, and then all those roles have to come together. All right, and then the final stage, the last stage, is called the generalized other stage. And this is when, and this generally happens in adolescence, where you understand what is expected of you in society, and you understand what is expected of everyone else in society, so that you can imagine how other people view you. So if you're acting outside of your role at this age, you understand that you're doing that, and you understand that other people in society are going to notice that you're doing that. Right? So you can finally, for the first time, imagine that other people are looking at you and judging whether or not you are correctly fulfilling whatever your role may be in society at that point. So by the time you get to generalized other stage, you have met the common behavioral expectations. You know what you're doing, right? You go to a store, you go to wherever, you know to get in a line, you know how things work, you know where you're supposed to pay for things, all of that kind of thing. And you also understand how other people are viewing you as an individual within society. So we have those 4 stages of personal development for children up through adolescence. And the generalized other stage is where we generally consider somebody to be developed, fully socialized, ready to participate in the world.